When you step into Ashes of Creation, it's easy to get lost or spend hours figuring out things that could have been explained in seconds. But with the right approach early on, the whole game becomes more enjoyable. I am Flanker, and today I'll share 10 tips to help you play smarter and save your time. When creating a character, you'll be able to choose between two starting zones, Riverlands and Anvils. If this is your first time playing Ashes of Creation, I would strongly recommend starting in Riverlands. The reason is simple: it has been in the game longer, and the biome it is part of was developed earlier as well. At the moment, it is noticeably more polished compared to the alternative. Over the last couple of weeks, the first-time user experience, POIs and visuals in Anvils have noticeably improved, but it can still feel a bit rougher to start there. That said, the choice is still yours. If you like it rough, who am I to judge your preferences? The first day on a fresh MMORPG server can often be a little chaotic. Thousands of players are desperately fighting the queue boss, starting locations are overcrowded, mobs disappear 1 second after spawning. I guess you know how it goes. Ashes of Creation will most likely be no different. Launch day is going to be a serious stress test both for the servers and for the players. There is also a non-zero chance of potential DDoS attacks since it has already happened in the past. So, if you're not in a rush, your gaming time is limited, or you simply don't want to deal with all this chaos, starting a bit later or even the next day might be an option to consider. Also, there is another piece of advice I want to share. After finishing what you need to do in the starting area, consider leaving it as soon as possible. The reason lies in the way the servers are structured. Think of the world in Ashes of Creation as a chessboard divided into squares. Each square is a server worker. The worker where new characters spawn will hit its limit extremely fast, which leads to queues forming. As long as you stay inside that worker, new players can't enter the game. And if you get disconnected and fail to log back in during your grace period, you will end up in the same queue as well. So leaving the starting area quickly will help you avoid these risks, along with potential performance issues. Once you're in game, press Page Up. This will bring additional information in top left corner, including the number of the server worker you're currently in. As soon as you finish everything you need to do in the starting area, consider leaving it and staying away for a while. Back in phase 2.5, when we had only one starting zone and more than 8,000 concurrent players at peak, staying in the starting area was pretty rough. Meanwhile, my group was chilling and leveling on the other side of the map with zero issues whatsoever, and nothing stops you from doing the same. On a side note, there is also a chance that things won't be as rough as they were in the past. As far as we know, Intrepid will be testing their dynamic gridding technology during the server launch. Remember the chessboard and squares we talked about earlier? So, if one of those squares becomes overloaded, this technology allows it to split into two in real time, distributing the load across both instead of forcing everything onto a single square. Personally, I'm very curious to see how this will work in practice, and at this point, all we can do is wish Intrepid good luck. Next we have another simple tip that can make your gameplay experience a bit smoother. If you've been playing for many hours or spent a lot of time in crowded areas, you might notice a gradual drop in FPS. I've seen this happen in other MMOs as well, but I'm not entirely sure why it occurs. Maybe someone can explain in the comments. In any case, a quick relog to your character selection screen and logging back in solves the issue, and your FPS will be back to normal. Over the last few weeks, players have been testing a lot of new changes related to the first-time user experience. There is now a new quest line that allows players to get their starter gear, which is definitely worth completing. On top of that, there is a new destiny system that rewards players with XP, glint, and pieces of gear for completing certain tasks. You can press L by default to open the destiny tab, and make sure you don't sleep on it because some of the rewards are very useful during the early levels. I've said this 1,000 times and I'll say it again because it's crucial to understand. It's totally fine to try Ashes of Creation as a solo player and take your time exploring. However, if you don't want to struggle more than necessary, joining a guild will make your experience much more enjoyable. This is especially true for newcomers who may not have deep knowledge about the game, its systems, good farm spots, or progression routes. A guild bridges that gap instantly. You get people who can answer your questions, point you in the right direction, and make the game more fun. All you need to do is check the guild recruitment channel in the official Discord and pick an option that looks appealing. There are dozens of guilds on every server, some casual, some hardcore, some focused on RP, and many of them are very welcoming to new players. And here's the part that many people underestimate. When you find the right guild with people you actually enjoy spending time with, the entire game transforms. Suddenly you have a group for dungeons, someone to farm or theory craft with, and a reason to log in even on slower days. At that moment, you will understand exactly what I meant. The maximum level in Ashes of Creation will eventually be 50, but right now the cap is 25. Even so, reaching level 25 can take a while. Questing might get you to around level 8 or 10, but after that it's all about knowing and farming good spots. So, once again, even if you're a newcomer who doesn't know much yet, joining leveling groups will always be faster and more efficient than trying to solo your way up. You will also be playing with people who actually know what they're doing, and they can share their knowledge and tips with you. I know many of you come from games where everything can be done solo and reaching max level takes 10 minutes, but that is not the case with Ashes. Another thing that can speed up your leveling is using novice scrolls of adventuring XP, since their recipes have been updated. Crafting a scroll now requires only 1 red ink and 1 crude paper, which is pretty cheap, and using it gives you from 5 to 15% XP bonus depending on the rarity. Don't sleep on this, it can save you a good chunk of time. The same applies to scrolls for processing and crafting XP. Their recipes are the same, and using them while power leveling artisan skills helps a lot. Just keep in mind that for processing, the scroll must be used before you place a work order, not when you collect the processed resources. At some point while playing the game, you will start feeling the need for more gold, and for some players, that moment will come pretty early. Your first source of income will be selling glint from quests, mobs, and destiny rewards to vendors. If you need a small amount to repair your gear or pay crafting fees at the start, you can always gather low-tier resources and sell them as well. For this purpose, mining works best since you have a chance to proc additional resources while hitting rocks. However, there is another method available right at launch, which is delivering crates. The crate system itself is not new, it was introduced in Phase 3. But the difference is that previously you needed at least 2 settlements to reach Stage 3 before you could start making gold this way. Now, you don't have to wait for anything. In Riverlands, for example, there are 2 crate crafting stations, one near the agricultural supply west of Lionholt, and another one near the woodshop close to Briarmore Farm. Near the stations, you can find NPCs selling certificates of all rarities for crafting crates, including legendary ones. But at the start, you will most likely be using common and uncommon certificates. I tested both in the BTR and earned 24 silver for common crate and 37 silver for uncommon ones. Not a huge amount in general, but pretty decent early on, and the entire run took me about 12 minutes. If you're a new player and don't know much about crates, don't worry. This topic deserves its own video, but there is a text guide written and shared by Wumpus Among Us, so shout out to him. Since there is no way to share a PDF on YouTube, you can find it in the useful info channel on my Discord server. Artisan skills in Ashes of Creation are divided into gathering, processing, and crafting. I know, many of you like the idea of crafting armor or training mounts, trust me, I get it. However, for the majority of players, especially newcomers, I would still recommend focusing on gathering. It is relatively easy to learn, it doesn't require any upfront investment, and provides a consistent source of income. Since the current cap is journeyman level, you can have 4 out of 5 gathering skills at journeyman and leave the last one at apprentice. Once you get comfortable with the game and understand how everything works, nothing stops you from switching your focus to something else or doing other artisan skills on your alts. The world in Ashes of Creation is genuinely large, and since there is no fast travel, it's important to reduce the amount of time you spend running from one place to another. First of all, don't be cheap with mounts, both ground and aquatic. Always try to get the best one available. Even a 5-10% movement speed increase makes a noticeable difference, and whatever you spend will pay off over time. There is also something that sounds simple, but it is worth keeping in mind. If you are traveling from Mirlet to Halcyon, for example, and you're passing by Winstead, stop for a moment and think. Do you need to pick something up from storage, leave something there, or list anything on the marketplace? Over the months, I've lost a ridiculous amount of time just because I forgot to consider this, so don't repeat my mistakes. Another thing that may help you is choosing your home member spring wisely. If you're far away and you don't feel like running back, you can always die to mobs or jump into a river and fail your swimming lessons. Just make sure to remove your gear first because it loses durability on death, and you can avoid that by keeping it in your inventory. Also, don't forget to double check that nothing valuable from your material tab will be lost, and remember that spawning at your home member spring has a 2-hour cooldown. The economy in Ashes of Creation is player-driven, and markets follow the classic law of supply and demand. Prices can shift, sometimes dramatically, and during Phase 3 we saw this happen multiple times. For example, Tendonite was relatively cheap at first, simply because demand was low. But the moment the weaponsmithing station was upgraded and players started buying it to craft the Night Reaver Greatsword, its price skyrocketed. Some players thought one step ahead, bought the materials early, and ended up saving a lot of gold. And you need to be among those players as well. To do that, don't focus only on the gear you're wearing right now. Plan ahead and think what gear you'll want in future when new recipes become available. If you know what's coming, you can prepare the materials early instead of buying them later at inflated prices. And if you're a gatherer, you can sometimes hold onto certain resources and sell them at the moment of highest demand. Of course, doing this requires some knowledge, but for now, I can at least give you the direction. The more you pay attention to how the economy moves, the easier it becomes to profit from those shifts. If this video was helpful, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for more guides. I am Flanker, and I'll see you soon.